Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in life, a moment so sharp and piercing, it feels as though the veil has been lifted. You stand there, vulnerable, staring into the harsh light of truth. It's not easy. It hurts. It shakes you to your core. Why? Because you've realized that someone you trusted, someone you held close, wasn't who you thought they were. The mask they wore has fallen, and now you see them for what they truly are. But don't despair. Stay with me. By the time we're done, you'll see why this revelation is a gift, not a curse. There is a profound beauty in the way life unveils itself, a subtle orchestration of events that often seems random, yet carries the unmistakable hand of something greater. It is in this tapestry of moments, some radiant, others shrouded in shadow, that we begin to see what we were once blind to. Among these revelations is the sobering truth about the people we allow into our lives. For some, their presence is a blessing. For others, a lesson. And when God deems it the right time, the veil lifts and we see the truth. Imagine for a moment a trusted friend, a confidant, someone whose words have soothed your storms, whose laughter has been the music to your brighter days. You've placed your faith in them, willingly sharing pieces of your soul, believing the bond is unshakable. And then one day, perhaps in a fleeting glance, a careless word, or an action so uncharacteristic, the facade begins to crack. You notice things you hadn't before, subtleties that seemed innocent now whisper of duplicity, and just like that, the mask slips. But why, you ask yourself, did I not see this sooner? Why did I allow this person so much space in my heart, in my life? Herein lies the mystery of divine timing. You were not meant to see it before because you weren't ready. Perhaps you needed to experience the depth of that connection, flawed though it was, to learn something crucial about yourself. Or maybe, just maybe, the revelation had to come at a moment when you could truly handle the weight of it. There is no cruelty in this unveiling. It is not punishment, it is clarity. And clarity, while often uncomfortable, is one of the greatest gifts we can receive. You see, it's far easier to live in blissful ignorance, to ignore the signs, to convince ourselves that everything is fine. But to do so is to walk a dangerous path, one where illusions hold us captive and prevent us from reaching the fullness of who we are meant to be. God, in his infinite wisdom, knows when we are ready to step into the light of truth. And when that moment comes, it is as if scales fall from our eyes. We begin to see things not as we wish them to be, but as they truly are. The charm that once captivated us loses its sheen. The words that once held us spellbound now echo with insincerity. It is a sobering moment, but it is also a freeing one. There is something deeply personal about these revelations. They are not just about exposing the flaws or falsehoods of others. They are also a mirror reflecting our own vulnerabilities. What was it within us that allowed such deceit to take root? Was it a longing for connection, a fear of being alone, or perhaps an unwillingness to confront the truth? These are not questions to torment us, but to guide us. They lead us toward growth, toward wisdom, toward a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. And as we journey through this process, we come to realize that these moments of revelation are not isolated. They are part of a greater design, a divine choreography that places us exactly where we need to be, surrounded by the people we need to encounter, whether for joy or for challenge. The people who enter our lives, no matter their true nature, play a role in shaping us. The genuine ones teach us trust, love, and loyalty. The false ones teach us discernment, resilience, and self-respect. Both are necessary. Both serve a purpose. It is only when the time is right, when the lesson has been learned, that the false is removed, making space for what is true. It is easy to feel anger or betrayal in these moments, to rail against the unfairness of it all. But to do so is to miss the point. The unmasking of deceit is not a condemnation, it is a liberation. It is the universe, or God if you will, saying to you, you deserve better. Here is the truth. Now, what will you do with it? The answer, of course, is not to retreat into bitterness or cynicism, but to embrace the truth with courage and grace. For every person who proves to be unworthy of your trust, there are countless others who will honor it. And every experience of betrayal, painful as it may be, brings with it the opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, and more attuned to the authenticity you seek in others and in yourself. This is the beauty of divine revelation. It doesn't just show us who others are, it shows us who we are, who we've been, and who we are becoming. It strips away the illusions we cling to and replaces them with the clarity we need to move forward. And in that clarity, we find not just the truth about others, but the truth about ourselves. And that, my friends, is a gift beyond measure. Pain is an uninvited guest, isn't it? It arrives without warning, often in the quiet moments when we least expect it. It seeps into the cracks of our lives, testing our resolve, challenging our hearts, and demanding answers to questions we didn't even know we were asking. And yet pain, for all its unwelcome intensity, carries within it a peculiar gift. A gift that many of us fail to see at first. It is a teacher, unrelenting but wise, offering lessons we could not learn in any other way. Imagine for a moment the sharp sting of betrayal. It's not just the act itself, is it? It's the unraveling of trust, the dismantling of something you believed was solid. It's the realization that someone you cared for, someone you opened your heart to, was not who they seemed to be. It feels as though the very ground beneath your feet has been pulled away, leaving you unsteady, unsure. But it is in this unsteadiness that the lesson begins. Pain forces us to confront what we have ignored. It holds a mirror up to our souls, reflecting not just the actions of others, but our own vulnerabilities, our hopes, our fears. In the sharp edges of pain, we find clarity. We see, perhaps for the first time, the dynamics we allowed to persist, the warning signs we dismissed, the truths we were too afraid to face. And while this clarity is far from comfortable, it is necessary. You see, pain has a way of stripping away the superficial. It takes us to the very core of who we are. In the moments when we feel broken, when tears fall unchecked, when anger simmers and questions swirl, we are closer to our authentic selves than ever before. The masks we wear, the defenses we build, the facades we maintain, they crumble under the weight of pain. And what is left is raw, unfiltered, and real. But let me tell you something, my friends. This rawness is not weakness. It is strength in its most honest form. Because it is only when we are stripped bare, when we have nothing left to hide behind, that we can begin to rebuild. And this rebuilding is where the true power of pain lies. Through pain, we learn resilience. We discover the depth of our own capacity to endure, to adapt, to rise. We realize that, though the storm may rage, it cannot extinguish the fire within us. Each tear shed, each sleepless night, each moment of doubt, they are not signs of defeat. They are steps on the path to transformation. Pain also teaches us compassion. Having walked through the valley of heartache, we come to understand the struggles of others in a way we never could before. It softens us, opens us, reminds us of our shared humanity. We begin to see that everyone carries their own burdens, their own stories of loss and betrayal. And in this understanding, we find connection, empathy, and the strength to offer a hand to those who are still navigating their own valleys. But perhaps the most profound lesson pain offers is this. It shows us what truly matters. When everything else is stripped away, when we are left with nothing but the raw truth of our experience, we see with startling clarity the things we hold dear. The superficial loses its shine, the distractions fade, and what remains are the relationships, the values, the dreams that define us. You may wonder, why must these lessons come through pain? Couldn't we learn the same truths through joy, through love, through peace? Perhaps, but joy rarely forces us to look inward. It rarely compels us to question, to reevaluate, to grow. Pain, on the other hand, demands it. It is relentless in its pursuit of our growth, pushing us beyond our comfort zones, beyond our fears, beyond our limitations. There is something extraordinary about the transformation that occurs when we embrace pain as a teacher. It doesn't mean we welcome suffering or seek it out. It doesn't mean we ignore the hurt or pretend it doesn't exist. It means we acknowledge it, face it, and allow it to shape us. It means we trust that even in our darkest moments, there is light to be found. For pain, as harsh as it may seem, is not the enemy. It is the catalyst. It is the force that moves us forward, that compels us to grow, that reminds us of our strength, our resilience, our capacity to endure and overcome. It is, in its own way, a gift that, when embraced, transforms us into something stronger, wiser, and more compassionate than we ever thought possible. It's an extraordinary thing, isn't it? The way life, in its intricate and mysterious wisdom, arranges the pieces of our experience to teach us the lessons we most need to learn. At times it feels as though the world conspires to place challenges in our path, to push us into situations that test our patience, our character, and our resolve. But if you look closely, if you quiet the noise of anger or resentment for just a moment, you'll begin to see that even the hardest truths carry with them a peculiar kind of grace. When someone's betrayal or deception comes to light, it stirs a whirlwind of emotions: shock, disappointment, even despair. It's a wound that cuts deeply, not just because of the act itself, but because of what it represents. The breaking of trust, the loss of innocence, the shattering of what you thought was real. And yet in that moment of pain, there lies an opening, a chance, however painful, to grow. The truth, you see, doesn't simply expose others. It exposes us as well. It reveals the ways in which we have allowed ourselves to be blind, the moments when we ignored our intuition, the times when we chose comfort over confrontation. These revelations are not accusations. They are gifts. They remind us of our power to discern, to choose, and ultimately to protect the sanctity of our own lives. Imagine for a moment that each relationship you enter, each connection you form is a mirror. In that mirror you see not only the other person, but also yourself, your hopes, your fears, your expectations, your dreams. When someone you trust turns out to be false, it's as though the mirror cracks. And while you may first see only the damage, the shards of what once was, there is something profound in that broken reflection. It shows you the parts of yourself you might otherwise have missed. This is the paradox of betrayal. It feels like a loss, but it often brings with it an unexpected gain. It strips away the superficial, the false, the unnecessary, leaving you with what is real. It forces you to reevaluate not only the people in your life, but also the values you hold dear, the boundaries you set, the standards you uphold. It is a painful process, yes, but also a cleansing one. There's a moment in every storm when the rain begins to let up, when the thunder fades into the distance and the first rays of sunlight break through the clouds. That moment, though fleeting, is a reminder that even the darkest nights give way to dawn. And so it is with the truths that life reveals to us. They are storms, yes, but storms that clear the way for clarity, for understanding, for renewal. When someone shows you their true colors, believe them, not out of cynicism or bitterness, but out of respect for yourself, for the truth, for the life you deserve to lead. There's a great freedom in acceptance, in letting go of the need to change others, or to hold on to relationships that no longer serve you. It's not an act of giving up. It's an act of stepping forward. But stepping forward requires courage. It requires you to confront your own vulnerabilities, to acknowledge the parts of yourself that allowed the deception to linger, and to forgive not just the other person, but also yourself. Forgiveness is not about condoning what has happened. It's about releasing yourself from the chains of anger and resentment. It's about reclaiming your energy, your focus, your life. There's a wisdom in the heart that often goes unheeded, a quiet voice that whispers truths we're sometimes too afraid to hear. It tells us when something isn't right, when someone's words don't match their actions, when the pieces of the puzzle don't quite fit. Learning to listen to that voice, to trust it, is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. It is not the loud, demanding voice of the ego. It is the steady, unwavering voice of your soul. And when you honor that voice, when you let it guide you, you find yourself moving towards something extraordinary. You find yourself building a life that is rooted in authenticity, in integrity, in love, that is real, and relationships that are true. You no longer settle for the scraps of affection or the illusion of trust. You demand more, not out of arrogance, but out of self-respect. This is the power of truth. It doesn't just show you who others are, it shows you who you are. It strips away the illusions, the falsehoods, the pretenses, and leaves you with something pure, something unshakable, something real. And in that reality, you find not just the strength to endure, but the grace. Life, in all its complexity and unpredictability, has an extraordinary way of making us confront the truth. The truth about others, yes, but also the truth about ourselves. There's a particular moment that comes when you see someone's mask slip for the first time. It's unsettling, like standing on the edge of a precipice and realizing the ground beneath your feet isn't as solid as you thought. But there's a beauty in that moment too, if you dare to look closely, because what you see in others, the parts they've hidden, the truths they've concealed, is not just a reflection of their character, it is an invitation to reevaluate your own. We are, each of us, storytellers. We tell stories about who we are, about the people in our lives, about the world we inhabit. These stories shape our reality. They give us comfort, purpose, and meaning. But sometimes the stories we tell are not entirely true. We embellish, we omit, we cling to certain versions of events because they make us feel safe. And when someone in our life turns out to be something other than what we believed, it shatters the narrative we've constructed. It forces us to confront a new reality, one that is often harder, sharper, and less forgiving. But here's the thing about reality. It doesn't ask for your permission. It doesn't wait for you to be ready. It arrives uninvited, knocking at the door of your life, insisting on being seen. And while it might feel like an intruder at first, it is, in fact, your greatest ally. Because only when you see things as they truly are can you begin to make choices that align with your deepest values and desires. When someone's true nature is revealed, it is not just about them. It is about you. It is about your willingness to let go of illusions, to embrace the discomfort of growth, to choose truth over convenience. This is not an easy path. It requires strength, resilience, and an unshakable commitment to yourself. It requires you to look in the mirror and ask hard questions. Why did I trust this person? What did I ignore? What do I need to change? These questions are not meant to place blame, but to cultivate awareness, because awareness is the foundation of all transformation. When you become aware of the patterns in your life, the ways in which you've allowed others to take advantage of your kindness or your trust, you begin to see the threads that weave through your experiences. And once you see them, you can begin to unravel them, to create something new, something stronger, something that truly serves you. This process, though painful, is profoundly liberating. It teaches you to trust yourself, to honor your intuition, to listen to the quiet voice within that so often knows the truth before your mind is ready to accept it. It shows you that your worth is not determined by how others treat you, but by how you treat yourself. And it reminds you that every relationship, every interaction, every moment is an opportunity to learn, to grow, to become more fully who you are. There's a certain dignity in walking away from what no longer serves you. It is not an act of weakness, but of strength. To say, this is not enough for me, is to honor your own value. To let go of someone who has deceived you is not to give up on love or trust or connection. It is to make space for something better, something truer, something real. And in that space, something remarkable begins to happen. You start to see the world with new eyes. The people who once seemed so essential to your happiness no longer hold the same power over you. The situations that once caused you pain become lessons, stepping stones on your path to greater wisdom and clarity. You realize that you are not defined by the actions of others, but by your own choices, your own integrity, your own courage. This is the gift of truth. It strips away the falsehoods, the masks, the illusions, and leaves you with something pure, something unshakable. It teaches you to value yourself, to protect your energy, to seek out relationships that nourish and uplift you. And it reminds you that you are stronger than you know, braver than you believe, and more resilient than you could ever imagine. Life is not about avoiding pain or betrayal or disappointment. It is about embracing the fullness of the human experience, the highs and the lows, the joy and the sorrow, the beauty and the struggle. It is about learning to stand in your truth, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's messy, even when it hurts, because in that truth there is freedom, there is power, there is grace. Ladies and gentlemen, the next time you see how fake someone has been, don't curse the revelation, bless it, embrace it, for it is God's way of setting you free, of leading you towards something far greater than you could have imagined. Walk forward with faith, knowing that the truth will always, always set you free. And when the pain fades, you will look around and see that you are surrounded by those who are genuine, those who are worthy, and those who are real. There is a certain power in the truth, isn't there? An undeniable weight that, once it reveals itself, cannot be ignored. It's as though the universe conspires in its quiet and deliberate way to peel back the layers of illusion we've grown so accustomed to living under. At first it feels jarring, even cruel, but truth, in its purest form, is never the enemy. It is the liberator, the force that strips away the masks and shows us what lies beneath. When the truth about someone's character is revealed, it can feel like a sudden rupture in the fabric of your world. You've trusted them, depended on them, maybe even built parts of your life around them. And now you stand face to face with a version of them you never wanted to believe existed. It's painful, yes, but within that pain lies the extraordinary opportunity to break free. Think about this. Every lie, every false promise, every betrayal binds you in invisible chains. The weight may not be immediately apparent, but it accumulates. It clouds your judgment, drains your energy, and holds you back from becoming who you are meant to be. And when the truth emerges, painful as it may be, those chains, the moment of realization is not just an ending, it is a beginning. It is the moment when you reclaim your power, your clarity, your freedom. You see, the beauty of truth is that it is unyielding. It doesn't waver or falter. It stands firm, asking only that you face it with courage. And when you do, you find that the truth is not there to harm you. It is there to set you free. Freedom, however, comes with responsibility. Once you see the truth, you cannot unsee it. You can't go back to the comfortable illusions, no matter how tempting they may be. This is where your strength is tested, where your character is forged. It's not enough to simply recognize the truth. You must act on it. You must make the difficult decisions, have the hard conversations, walk away from what no longer serves you. This isn't easy. Freedom rarely is. But think of what lies on the other side. When you free yourself from deception, you open the door to authenticity. You create space for genuine connections, for people who will honor your trust, for a life that aligns with your deepest values. You let go of the weight of falsehoods and step into the lightness of truth. But what of the person who has wronged you, who is hidden behind the mask, who has betrayed your trust? It's easy to let anger take hold, to feel the bitterness creep in. Yet even here, truth has something to teach us. It shows us that holding on to anger only binds us further. True freedom comes not just from seeing the truth, but from releasing the pain it brings. This doesn't mean you condone the actions of those who have wronged you. It doesn't mean you forget or pretend it didn't happen. It means you choose not to let their actions define you. You choose to rise above, to move forward, to let go, because ultimately their deceit is a reflection of their own struggles, their own insecurities, their own failings. It is not a reflection of your worth. Freedom in this sense is not just about leaving behind what was false. It is about embracing what is true. It is about stepping into a life where you are no longer shackled by the lies of others, where you are no longer afraid to see things as they are. It is about finding the courage to live authentically, to speak your truth, to surround yourself with people who value honesty and integrity as much as you do. This journey to freedom is not without its challenges. It requires resilience, self-reflection, and an unwavering commitment to your own growth. But it is a journey worth taking, because as you walk this path, you will discover something extraordinary. You will discover that the truth, for all its discomfort, is the greatest ally you could ever have. It will guide you, protect you, and empower you. It will show you who you are, who you can trust, and what you are capable of. It will free you not just from the lies of others, but from the lies you've told yourself. And in that freedom, you will find a life richer, fuller, and more meaningful than you ever thought possible. Life has a remarkable way of revealing the truth when we need it most, even if we aren't ready for it. There's a peculiar art to timing, isn't there? A sense that the universe, in all its vast complexity, waits for the exact moment when the curtain must fall, exposing the actors on the stage for who they truly are. You may wonder why these revelations so often arrive in the moments when we feel most vulnerable, most unguarded. But perhaps that is precisely why. Vulnerability, after all, is not a weakness. It is an opening, a gateway to understanding, and the raw space where truth can enter. When someone's true nature is unveiled, it's like the breaking of a storm. The sky, once so serene, now cracks open with thunder and lightning. It can be startling, even terrifying. But storms have their purpose. They cleanse the air, wash away what no longer belongs, and remind us of the forces beyond our control. And in the aftermath of the storm, the world often feels clearer, brighter, more alive. Think back to a time when you trusted someone deeply, only to have that trust betrayed. At first, it's disorienting. The mind races to make sense of the fragments, the words spoken, the actions taken, the signs you might have missed. You ask yourself, why? Why did they do this? Why didn't I see it sooner? But here lies the paradox of human relationships. Trust is built on faith, not certainty. To trust someone is to take a leap, to believe in their goodness despite the risks. And when that trust is broken, it feels as though the ground beneath your feet has given way. Yet, even in the midst of such upheaval, there is a lesson waiting to be learned. The revelation of someone's true nature is not merely an ending, it is an awakening. This process is not easy. Clarity, for all its virtues, can be a harsh light. It illuminates not just the actions of others, but our own choices, our own patterns, our own complicity in maintaining the illusions we clung to. Perhaps we ignored the red flags because we wanted to believe in the good. Perhaps we overlooked the inconsistencies because we valued the relationship more than the truth. Whatever the reason, the unveiling of truth asks us to take a hard look at ourselves, to acknowledge our own humanity, and to forgive ourselves for the times we turned away from what was right in front of us. There's a certain liberation in this kind of honesty. When the mask falls away and the truth stands revealed, you are no longer bound by the expectations, assumptions, or hopes that once clouded your vision. You see things as they are, and in that seeing you reclaim your power. You are no longer at the mercy of someone else's deceit or pretense. You are free to make choices rooted in reality, not fantasy. And what of the person who has been unmasked? It's tempting to dwell on their flaws, to dissect their motives, to assign blame, but doing so only keeps you tethered to their story. True freedom comes from letting go, from acknowledging their actions, but refusing to let those actions define you. Their choices are a reflection of who they are, not of your worth, your value, or your capacity to love. As painful as these moments of revelation may be, they are also opportunities for growth. They teach you to listen more closely to your intuition, to trust your instincts, to value your own sense of truth. They remind you that while trust is a gift, it is also a choice, one that should be given wisely and with discernment. And they show you the strength that lies within you, the strength to endure, to heal, and to rise above. The beauty of life is that it does not leave us in the darkness for long. Even when the truth feels overwhelming, even when the storm seems unending, there is light on the horizon. Each revelation, no matter how painful, is a step toward greater understanding, greater self-awareness, greater freedom. It is a reminder that the truth, though often uncomfortable, is always a force for good. You see, the unmasking of others is not just about them. It is about you. It is about your journey, your growth, your evolution. It is about learning to trust yourself, to honor your own truth, to embrace the clarity that comes with seeing the world as it truly is. And in that clarity, you find the strength to move forward, not with bitterness, but with wisdom, grace, and an unshakable belief in your own worth.